Hello everyone! A pleasant day to all of you. Happy 2022 to all of you Lasallians. I am John Navarro, a software architect at Naviter, and I'm here to talk about what to expect in a technical interview. But of course, before that, let me just give you a short introduction about myself and Naviter. As a software architect, my role is to ensure that the end-to-end design of the system adheres to the technical best practices with regards to security, cloud readiness, and of course, good programming practices and principles. Aside from that, I also do technical interviews to assess the candidate's readiness to work or take part in our Naviter organization. And what is Naviter? Let me give you a short introduction. Alright, see this aircraft from Cebu Pacific? Naviter is an airline IT company whose mission is to lead the industry by creating value through innovation. It came from these 4 words above. Now that we're done with the introduction, let's begin with 5 guides in a technical interview. Question number 1. What should you wear in a technical interview? Most IT companies don't require their employees to be in business casual attire in their day-to-day jobs. However, technical interviews is a formal job application process, so you should be presentable. The answer is business casual is the applicable dress code. Alright, the next one. You'll be expected to communicate in English. As you give some introduction about yourself, be concise on the projects or the thesis because that will come in later. Be natural and confident. You don't need to appear stiff, stoic, or too serious. Even though it's a formal interview, you can feel free to express some emotions as you talk with the interviewer. Of course, it should be appropriate in the context of the situation. Before we move on to the next item, let me get back to my usual attire. Alright, the next question is, will there be a programming exercise or exam? The answer is most likely yes. It will either be a set of programming questions or it can be an on-the-spot programming exercise. The reason is because we as employers or interviewers need to assess your technical capabilities. You don't need to really know the specific syntax of the programming language, especially if you're being asked to write it on paper. What we are assessing is your logic, how you will solve a specific problem using your logic. Could answer it by a pseudocode, but it could also be a plus to you if you know the specific syntax or the programming language with the spot or the role that you are applying for. Moving on to the next. You might be wondering, since you are a fresh graduate, what will the employer ask regarding your technical projects or work experience? Well, we would mostly ask about your major projects, thesis, or what you did in your internship. We would be asking you about each project, and we'll be talking about what technologies were used, what functionalities, how did you design it, how many people were you within the project, what was your specific role, what challenges you have. So it will mostly revolve on that because we're trying to assess what your key strengths are, where you excel, what are your challenges, and this will allow us to properly assess whether you are fit for the team or for another team, or of course where your strengths could be most applicable. Alright, on to our last guide, and this last guide is all about you. How do you assess whether the company you're applying for is for you? Remember that any interview is a two-way street. It's not just me or any interviewer assessing whether you fit in the organization. It's also about you asking the right questions to the employer or to the interviewer for you to assess whether you fit in that organization. What are sample questions that you need to ask? Well, questions that will allow you to understand the culture, the people, the process, the role, the product, everything related that will have an impact as you do your day-to-day job. Some of the things that you could ask are, for example, what is the daily life of a programmer in your company. Perhaps you should list down all those questions that you have, or maybe identify some questions as you go along with the interview. And remember, last DLSU Career Talk that Navitor participated in, we discussed what are the expectations during an interview. To remind you, we came up with this acronym called DEV or DEV. Letter D stands for Discovery. Discover yourself, career, and company that suits you during those interviews. Letter E, Experience. Treat your interviews as a learning experience. And letter V is Reflect on what you value. I hope you have a fruitful, meaningful, and DEV way of finding out the company that's right for you. Hope this helps, and I would like to thank everyone, and I hope this helps everyone in their journey towards finding the organization that they would like to work for.